Hello there, this is Red Joy, and today I'm going to do a grading of all the joinable companions in Baldur's Gate 1 and the Enhanced Edition. In looking at these companions, I have my trusty notes here that I took. So I'm asking myself a couple of questions, right? First and foremost, how easily can I pick up this character? Did they come early on in the game? Did they come super late in the game? Obviously, characters who I can grab early on and kind of grow with them and grow an experience with them, they're going to do a little bit better in the grading. Second is their ability scores and stats. Are they good, right? If they aren't amazing, do they steer the character to being kind of min-maxed or steer them towards a particular play style? A companion who is min-maxed, that's incredibly well min-maxed, might do better than a character who generally has a ton of good stats, but maybe is not as capable, or just isn't focused on a particular set. So I'm kind of looking at their ability scores there. Third is that do they have any special abilities, any unique items, any special qualities, and are those things worth it? If they are, or if they are worth it, then usually that'll make them score higher, obviously. And if they're not, it might not be necessarily that it hurts them too much, but it might be like, okay, they tried to throw a bone to this character by giving them kind of a special ability, but the special ability kind of sucks. So, and that's not going to be so good. And then finally, and this is the most subjective part of it, and I'll get into the subjectivity of it in just a moment, is does the character annoy me? There are characters that seem amazing, to have great stats and unique abilities, but taking them is such a pain because I have to listen to them and I have to deal with them. It's so bad. So it's not always a disqualifier. And in fact, there might be some characters that have really great personalities but don't score very high because they just aren't very useful. But that obviously impacts on how I see the companion. I just realized I don't need a D ranking, so I'm gonna cut this. Delete row. Oops, it's supposed to be C. There we go. Fix everything up. Make sure everything is good. Oops, and bring that there. Yes. So, without further ado, let's talk about the rankings. Right, starting at F. F are characters who are weaker. They don't have much function in the party. They die very easily. And they tend to be really obnoxious. And taking with them, it's more of a chore than anything else. And unless you are playing a completionist run, I wouldn't take them. If you want to take them because you want to kind of gather as many party members as possible, that's great. C characters they're average. They have a purpose and a function. They are characters that there are characters that score higher, that do whatever they do better. And they usually can be the first to die in combat situations. But you can take them if you have characters who are better that just die along the way. Unfortunate accidents happen in this game, as we all know. So C characters, they're not great, but they're not horrible, right? F characters are genuinely bad. You probably should never take them. C characters you're not going to be too broken if you end up. You're not going to be too distraught if you end up taking them. B characters are the characters where, in my other tier videos, I would call this the you're going to have a good time tier, right? These are characters who are good. They're not amazing. They're not outstanding. They'll do what you need them to do. There might be better options out there. There might be better options stat-wise or personality-wise. These could even be good characters that have annoying mechanics but are worth taking. Or they might be characters that are really, really good but kind of are a little bit annoying and you don't want to take them with you. If you need a character to fit a particular role, these companions are definitely good, right? A characters are just a step above them. They're very flexible. They aren't super annoying. These are the characters that have a gimmick. If you are playing through and you don't want to take the S tier characters because you want to try out them, right? A tier characters are really quite good. Usually they are good characters that you may get a little bit later in the game, or they're good characters that you get early on and just carry you through, but maybe they're not S-tier characters. And what is an S-tier character? S-tier are the superior characters. They are the top of the line, the creme de la creme. These are the characters who have a specific role. They're the best at that role, right? And I'll explain what that role is when we get to it. I'll also talk about like how the A characters maybe aren't as good as the S characters, but the A characters may be still worth it. So, obviously, this list is subjective. There's gonna be parts where people disagree. Leave the comments below. Also, give the video a like if you like what I do and you like my playthroughs, like these silly videos. Leave the video a like, or give a comment below, being like, Redjoy, you're kind of an idiot. You're really an idiot. These characters are amazing that you said were F-tier characters. They're really amazing. Or maybe you have the quibble between it being an A or a B character. Whatever. Leave a comment below. I welcome all of it. I just also realized I don't need my headphones. Don't you love it when, like, you have your headphones in and you don't really need them? So I put the music in post. So, normally this list is going to be alphabetical, but I feel obligated to go a little bit out of order with the first character on this list. She is the first character that you pick up in both games, and she is your best buddy, and this is Imoen. Imoen is a neutral good thief, human thief. And I know people will take some umbrage to like the class and race combination, but I actually put her as an A, right? Oh, and by the way, just letting you know, I will kind of reorder these. Like there might be some A characters that are better than other A characters, and so I'll kind of slide them around. But we're just gonna start her off as an A, right? Get her at the very beginning of the game. She will pretty much never leave your side unless you want to kind of send her off and then, or kind of leave her and then pick her up later. She's very flexible. Because you get her at the beginning of the game, you basically shape her to whatever you want her to be. So I think she works great as a utility thief, picking locks and disarming traps. You can later on have her go either in stealth or setting traps or picking pockets. You can pretty much do whatever you want with her, because when you get her, she's going to level up very quickly if it's just you and her, or if it's a party. She will guaranteed be the first character to level up, and you can put stats points into whatever thieving skills you feel that you need, right? The only real thing that kind of hurts her is that she has a very low strength. She has a strength of 9, I believe. And there are a number of times where I'm like, okay, I'm going to give you a couple things, and once she gets to like 50 pounds, she's like, I can't carry no more. So it's a little annoying, but it's not terrible, right? You have other characters that can carry stuff, and sometimes you can carry really light items like gems and whatnot. It's kind of nice to have her around. I think that she's good. I also think that she's pretty important for the story, right? Like, there is a reason why she's in both games. Kind of all 3 games, we count throwing a ball as its own thing, which I don't know if it does. But basically, I think that she's very important, so I give her an A. Next character is Ajantis. Ajantis is a lawful good paladin. You can grab him pretty much any point in the game. He's at the Fisherman's Village right north of the Friendly Arm. Now, here's the thing. Ajantis is an example of a character who has a really good point spread. He has no stat under 12. He's got, I believe his total is 88 or 89, but I actually put him as B, right? He's got a low dexterity. You can use items to bring up his dexterity. You can use potions to bring up his dexterity, to make him more survivable, but you're probably actually wanting to put those items onto other characters. His personality is, there's a depth that needs to be played with paladins, right? Especially before 5th edition. Before 5th edition, paladins had to be lawful good. And there's a depth that has to be played with paladins, right? The other paladin in this game series, of course, is Faldorn, also kind of Mazzy, and both of them are just better characters as far as paladins go, right? They have natural foibles, they have natural kind of pieces. Ajantis is kind of a squire. Now, if Ajantis had just a slightly different personality, if he was a little more open and good, and more kind of understanding of the fact that he's going to be traveling with people, I'd put him a little higher. But of course, and maybe I guess maybe I'm putting a little too much emphasis on his character here, but I will say kind of mechanically, he is a decent fighter. He's a decent kind of frontliner, but he's not amazing. There's just others that can fill that role. That being said, he's perfectly serviceable. If you want to have a good character to be kind of a frontliner, also to be a good face of the party. I know that typically, I know for me personally, I don't like having characters other than myself be the face of the party because it's my game, I'm playing the game. But there are some people who are like, just tank charisma and have him go into every store and be the goody two-shoes, get the lowest price possible. And if you want to play that way, then maybe he would be an A, but for me, I'm kind of putting him as a B, at least to start, and I'll, of course, reconsider it after I look at everybody. So, all right, next is Alora. Alora is a chaotic good halfling thief. You grab her in Baldur's Gate at Chapter 5. Alora is a little bit of the opposite of Ajantis, where he is kind of has a very good kind of point spread, and everything is decently high, but nothing really stands out. She has very good dexterity and kind of meh other stats. And that's fine. Actually, her point spread is relatively low. The thing is that she does what she needed to do. She is a thief, right? I put her under Imoen, though. And the reason why is her placement, right? I'll get to that in just a sec, but the other thing I really like about her is her rabbit's foot gives her a big bonus. It gives like basically a universal luck bonus to her. So everything she does just is a little bit better, and so I think that she is. I think I haven't done a very good job of playing with her in the past and having her in the party in the past, but I'm very happy I did with the latest runs I've done. Nothing was more fun than watching her walk Gideon around like a little girl and her dog, her massive dog, werewolf monster thing, and it was just fun to have her around in the party. I think that she's a good character to have, really. It's just the placement normally in the game is a little obnoxious. Now, you may have noticed if you are familiar with the Gideon playthrough that I had first off I had a mod that moved her to Gullikin. If you do that, she would be S tier. As long as she can also get to work. Because she's a phenomenal thief. She does a good job. And also her race and class combo is just perfect. Halfling thieves are some of the best thieves. They do exactly what you need them to do. So right now I'm putting her as an A just because she comes so late in the game. If M1 bites it, if any of the other thieves bite it, and you need to have a new thief in Baldur's Gate, go straight to the Hall of Wonders, grab her. You won't regret it. Alright, next is Baeloth. Baeloth is a chaotic evil drow sorcerer. Your party needs to be at 10,000 experience points in order to recruit him. He is our first S tier character. He is a phenomenal spellcaster. Sorcerers are great. I like sorcerers. I think that they have way more kind of firepower than other characters, and if you the nice thing is as you level him up, he will become more and more powerful. Become more and more powerful. I'm so good at this game. You'll be able to choose which spells, universally, which spells that he can cast and he can have, right? He has a ring, a quote-unquote cursed ring, that gives him additional spells, but makes him weak against fighting Jinn or genies, which you don't ever run into in the game. So, thanks. Gosh, you're hurt so hard by that curse. So I think he is great. I think he's got really good natural resistances. I think he's got something like either 50 or 65% magic resistance. He's got a lot of firepower, and he's actually really funny. I think that he's very funny in how he's both super arrogant and super fish out of water. That he has no idea what he's doing. So, Baeloth, first S tier character. Next is Brawen. Brawen is a true neutral human. She originally was a cleric, now she is a priest of Tempest. The addition of her being a priest of Tempest doesn't really mean much because she has the chaos of battle spell ability or ability that I've never seen used, and I don't think actually adds. you don't know what it will add to the battle, so I never really worry about it. And I put her a B. I'm going to put her... Who is better? I'm going to say, because she's a cleric and she can do healing, and there are fewer healers in the spell, I'm going to put her slightly above Ajantis. But Ajantis is still... I mean, these are both good characters, right? You're not going to be hurt by taking Brawen or Ajantis with you, right? B is not a bad category. I'm going to get a lot of flack, be like, how dare you put that character as B character? No, it's not that they're bad characters. They're great. It's just there are better characters, right? I promise. We will get to some crap characters in a little bit. But Brawen is fine. I wish her wisdom was a little higher, but she's okay. Again, there's no real difference to her being Priest of Tempest. I think the nice thing about her that maybe puts her, you know what, I'll be willing to say that puts her above Ajantis, is the fact that she's true neutral. She will cooperate with whatever party composition you deal with, right? She won't pick any fights, except I believe she picks a fight with Tiax. I'm not going to go too deep into who picks a fight with who, but because you should definitely experience that yourself. And I'll warn you if there's any real big conflicts that's like, oh my god, they're going to kill each other on the first sight. But Brawen almost never picks a fight with anybody because she's relatively chill. That's the nice thing about being true neutral. Yeah, I think she's fine. She doesn't have anything that really stands out as being horrible, and she's a decent cleric. So, B. Coran. Coran is the best thief in the game. I even will dare say put him above Baeloth. He is the best thief in the game. You get him a little bit late, but is a great switch from other thieves if you need to have them. I also think that he is, I would argue, the best archer in the game. He has 3 points in the longbows, and I think if you get the strength gloves, he can use composite longbows, which makes him just phenomenal. Just phenomenal. But even if you don't get those strength gloves, just give him a normal longbow or magic longbow, he's golden. He's golden. I really like having Coran in the party. I think he's a fun character. He's a great model character for what a elven fighter thief is. He's chaotic good, which means that he is playful. He is the Earl Flynn character. I really like him. And there's a reason why he's like a fan favorite, because that 20 dexterity, so good for so much, right? Alora has a bunch of bonuses to thievery. I really think that she's a great thief, but Coran, oh man, so amazing. All right, next up is Dorn. Dorn is a neutral evil half-orc blackguard. You grab him. Basically, the way you grab him is you talk to him in the friendly arm in. He basically is like, F off, I don't really care about you. And then you run into him right before you go into Nashkel. You have a kind of a fight that breaks out. And he, humorously enough, can die in that first fight if you don't have some levels. But then he'll join your party after, or he'll offer to join your party afterwards. I put him at B with major reservations. I was originally going to put him at C, kind of top end of C. Now I think he's actually kind of low end of B. First off, regarding his kind of quest, right? His quest, you get some decent items from his quest, some stuff that can beef you up. I like the fact that you can get Elven Chainmail from this quest. It's good if you have any bards in the party. It's not an essential item, but it's a nice to have. The thing is, I think he is a case of a melee glass cannon, right? He will hit like a Mack truck when he goes in. He's got 19 strength, which is great, but I think he's got either 14 or 15 constitution, which means, and like a similar dexterity, which means if he gets hit, he's going to get hit, and he's going to get hit numerous times, right? So I don't think he's as tanky as he should be. And with the limited access that you get to divine spells, I think that he's not a great melee fighter that is a tank as well. He's a good hitter, right? But I think that what you can do with him is you can give him like a longbow, and you can have him kind of shoot from the back, which sounds like weird and silly, but one thing you should note about this game, about Baldur's Gate 1, is that ranged characters are very powerful, right? Like, there's a reason why archers are a fantastic class to play. There's a reason why when you do, if you put points into longbow, if you put points into crossbow or short bow, right? You're going to have a leg up on a lot of opponents because you're just going to have a ton of, you'll be able to hit harder from a distance. And there's a lot of great arrows in the game that let you do all sorts of stuff. So every time, let me put it this way also, if you come across like an ambush and it's like a bunch of bandits that are firing, there's a good chance your character will just die straight up. Because they could all hit and just take your character out, or take a character out before you get to like hash kill or anything like that. So having him as a ranged character is not always a bad idea. And so I think that he is, I think he's pretty good. I am put off by his character, right? He's an obnoxious edgelord. He is a parody of what a dark, edgy character should be, right? If I were playing as a blackguard, I would not go out and scream, "I am a blackguard, look at me, I am the devil, right? I wouldn't do that. I'd be like playing it off like I am actually the good guy of the story. I am, yes, I'm actually just a noble warrior. No, pay no attention to the fact that I can terrify my opponents and poison my weapon and absorb the strength of my opponents. Oh, they are just mystical powers." No, I think maybe the Beamdog makers, the Beamdog creators wanted to have this character Dorn as a unique edgelord for his experience, but I think it's obnoxious. I think you could do edgelord better, quite frankly. So it's a B for me. It's the low end of B, but he does have his uses. He does hit hard, and he gets some nice items for his quests. So, and you can use him for distance. So I think he's fine. Next is Dynaheir. Dynaheir is a lawful good invoker. She links with Minsc. Now, I'm going to put her actually at the high edge of B, right? I think so. The high edge of B is going to be Dynaheir. Low edge of B is going to be Dorn. Here's the thing with Dynaheir, right? You can grab her, by the way, you can grab her when you go to the Knoll Fortress. Yeah, you rescue her from the Knolls. I think she's a good class. She's a good spellcaster. She does lose the enchantment spells, such as Sleep or Hold or Charm, but there are other mages that can cast those spells, so that's not horrible. She also gets Slow Poison, which comes into effect very nicely, but the problem with Slow Poison is that you have to then send her into melee to use it, and there's a risk that whatever monster, spider, ettercap that's hitting will just slide right around and pop her. I think that when they created her, I think that they should have brought her intelligence up to 18 and her wisdom down a little bit. I get the idea that she's kind of this wise witch and is kind of a Rashimi character, a Rashimi witch character. I think Invoker is a little strange, but I think if they made her another type of specialist mage, it would be kind of silly. I'm going to keep her there for now, but I can see a very good argument to put her at low end of A. So I'm going to keep her there for now. I think the other reason why I have her as the top end of B is because of her link to Minsc, which I'll talk about Minsc in just a bit. So, right now, I kind of wish her intelligence would be a little higher. Edwin. Edwin is a lawful evil human conjurer. He's a mage. He is S tier. It is a big question of whether he is better or worse than Baeloth. I am actually going to put him slightly above Baeloth, and I'll tell you the reason why. Because you can customize him to what you need him to do. So he is much more newbie friendly. If you are really interested in having kind of high magic party, you take them both with you, and then you take like a nice evil thief with you as well, right? And then you might be evil or something like that too. So let's talk about Edwin. Edwin, fantastic mage. He's got a very good spell school of magic. One leg up that he has over Dynaheir is the fact that his opposition spell school is divination. What does divination let you do? It lets you identify objects. Okay, you can't do that, but you know what lets you do that? Going to any store and spending 100 gold. And you're going to get gold very easily in this game. If you're also interested in doing it, there's a lot of other ways to identify stuff, right? Conjuration, I think, even if it's not as good as Invocation, I think it's like the two of them are like the two best schools of magic, right? In the early game, you lose a lot less from losing Divination than losing Enchantment, which is why I think I would rather, if you're playing like a low-end game of Baldur's Gate 1, I'd rather take a Conjurer than take an Invoker, even though Invokers can be really powerful later on. So he's got decent kind of stat spread. It's much more, it's either 18s, 16s, or 10s, which is kind of a good, that's fair, right? Similar constitution to Dynaheir, similar dexterity to Dynaheir. No, I think he's got higher dexterity, actually. I'd have to look that up, but I didn't write it down, and it's not super important. I would say he and Baeloth really are the two best spellcasters in the game. Funny thing is that they're both evil. They also, the other thing about Edwin is he's got conflicts with a ton of companions. He's got conflicts with Dynaheir. He's got conflicts with Minsc. He's got conflicts with Neera. So just be aware that a lot of characters will try to kill him because they get really, really fed up with all his crap. So I strongly recommend playing him with evil parties. There are lots of characters who they're evil or they're good, and you can kind of play them with other parties. Excuse me. Edwin is not one of those characters. He will inevitably clash with characters who are good characters. So, next is Eldoth. Eldoth is a neutral evil human bard. He links eventually with Skie. You grab him in the Cloakwood Forest in Chapter 4, and he wants to get to Baldur's Gate for a timed quest. He is an F character. He is you use him. I can think of one use that he has, which is identifying objects with a decent lore score. I say decent lore score, not even a great lore score. He's a bard, so he'll be higher than average. He has no stats above 16. All of his stats are below 16. He has a below average lore score for a bard. And at low level, bards are already hard to play with, right? There's one other bard in the game, and he's not going to score super high either, right? You use a bard to do a few different things, right? One of which is identifying objects by knowing what they are, having a high lore score. They make decent wand users that you can cast kind of low level spells, but like Eldoth is just annoying. He first off, his character is just dreadful. He's this chauvinistic, useless twit who hangs out in the middle of the forest. He's got this plan to go to Baldur's Gate, which you would pick him up kind of in the natural progression of things. You would pick him up on your way to get to the Cloakwood Mines, which takes a few days to get there, and then you do the Cloakwood Mines. If he manages to survive, which probably isn't, then he'll come out and he'll be like, well, you all aren't going to Baldur's Gate. What's your problem? Why aren't we at Baldur's Gate yet? I need to free my girlfriend that I really don't like, but I like her daddy's money. Screw you guys, I'm going home, right? And it's like, why did I take you with me? Like, why are you here? So, and he can create poison arrows. Okay, I don't think he comes with short bow or long bow proficiency. You might need to, I might be wrong on that, but he doesn't, he's not a natural archer. I don't think his dexterity is great either. So, like, you have very little purpose except for identifying stuff, and there's other characters that can kind of do that as well. So, hard pass on Eldoth. If you want to see and I will do a run through where I play with Eldoth, and I will do his whole thing with Skie, but I'm not going to enjoy it. I'm going to be really annoyed with it. All right, next is Faldorn. Faldorn is a druid, true neutral human druid. You also grab her in Cloak with Mines. In fact, you grab her at the same area of Eldoth. Unlike Eldoth, though, she has some uses, but she's a C character. She also has no stats above 16. Druids can be really great. In fact, I think that they are the best divine casters. I think they are just a tiny step above clerics, particularly for those really high level abilities. But Faldorn, she can get to level 5 divine spells, which is nice. But she doesn't get to like the high end super powerful stuff. And she doesn't have the same durability that Jaheira does. Jaheira we're going to talk about in just a few minutes. I think that Faldorn she's okay, but she's not great. I find her it's weird, right? So she's a shadow druid, and I already think that shadow druids are, psychotic and evil, but like she has this kind of like manner to her where she's like, she comes off as kind of peaceful and like, oh well, we need to respect nature. And then she becomes a villain in Baldur's Gate 2. Spoiler alert, when you do the trade meet quest, she's the main villain. And then she's like, civilization's terrible. We should just kill everyone and have the animals take over and like the trees and swamps. And it's like, screw you, Faldorn. Like, so maybe it's unfair to judge her at this point, but also considering you're getting her at chapter 4 and she just doesn't have the same qualities that like Coran does. Coran you also got at level 4, but he's just great to take with you. Whereas Faldorn, she's not terrible. She's not F tier, but there's just better characters to take with you. If your if your divine caster gets exploded before exploded before the Cloakwood Forest, and you need to have a new divine caster, pick her up, at least to help out through the forest, and then feel free to drop her for another, grab Brawen or Viconia or somebody else. But not terrible, but there are better. All right, speaking of not terrible, but there are better. Let's talk about Garrick. Garrick is a chaotic neutral human bard. It says chaotic neutral. I actually don't think he's chaotic neutral. I think he's more of either true neutral or neutral good. It's clear that he's not evil. He worked for an evil lady, but that doesn't mean... every time I've seen him, he's like, and hear his kind of dialogue, he's always talking about like, oh, we should, go out for an adventure and try to, help people. So I don't think he's chaotic neutral. I also don't think he's phenomenal. You grab him in Bergost, you do the Skie quest, which, by the way, by the time you're ready to do the Silky, I said Skie, I meant Silky quest, you probably already have a pretty powerful party, or you have a decent plan to deal with a lot of the enemies you deal with, because she is very powerful. So I put him at C. There are going to be people who say he should go directly to F. I don't blame you for feeling that way, but he is, if you need to take a bard in your party, he is the better bard to take. He is much better. He's got much better stats than Eldoth. He is a much easier character to take in many different parties because he's chaotic neutral versus being evil. He is, his lore score is better than Eldoth, so he already does better. The one thing Eldoth is supposed to do, he can do better. And so as far as his personality, he's annoying and obnoxious, and I think that's the way he's supposed to be. He's supposed to be this character who is kind of a pansy, kind of a newbie, kind of a little bit of a well-intentioned fop, I think is a good way to put him. So Garrick is a C. He's not. Again, he's also not terrible. I've had my opinion changed on Garrick in the fact that I would have put him in F earlier. Definitely still better than Eldoth, but not terrible. He has decent stats. Really, the big thing for stats for a bard, NPC bard, is to have intelligence and wisdom, so that you have a decent lore score, and also dexterity, so that he doesn't die and he can use a crossbow decently well. So Garrick is fine. He's not horrible, but there are better characters to take with you. I will say bards do get significantly better in Baldur's Gate 2. All right, Jaheira. Jaheira is a true neutral half-elf fighter druid. She's linked with Khalid, who we'll talk about in a bit. She is grabbed at Chapter 1, the friendly arm in. Okay, now, I have written here that she's a B. I think that's unfair. I think she's actually more of an A. I think she's more useful than Dynaheir, because she can do a few more things, right? First off, she is usually, for most players, she's the first healer that you get, right? Which is huge, because the first time you play the game, you're like, oh my god, my character is like 8 HP and is down to 3. Oh my god, what am I going to do? Am I going to use the one healing potion I have? Well, no, you don't need to when you get Jaheira with you. Jaheira is... she's not bad for support or low-stakes melee situations. There are more durable fighters, but she is, I think, a druid who can kind of control a battlefield and do a decent job of it. I like having her. I like having her in the party. She makes a good continuity into Baldur's Gate 2, and the fact that she's kind of important to the story. So I think I was a little harsh in putting her in B. I think she is A. Not as good as Alora, and not as important to the story as Imoen, but I think having her as an A is fair. Let's talk about Kaigan. I almost always take Kaigan with me. Kaigan is grabbed in Beargast. He is a lawful evil dwarf fighter. It is funny how of the S tier characters, 3 of them so far are evil. That's not going to change much. He is the best tank in the game. He's got a constitution of 20. He's got the highest HP in the game. He gets great shorty saves, right? As you don't know, dwarves, halflings, and gnomes get bonuses to their saves based on their constitution score. So their constitution is going to give them a better, make them more reliable in resisting bad things that happen to them. And dwarves are fantastic. He is excellent at holding the front lines. In Baldur's Gate 1, fighters are genuinely very tanky, because this is before the era of stone skin. This is before when mages can cast mirror image, but their mirror images, they only get a few images. So, it saves them for a few hits, and then they eventually will go down. Kaigan, just you put some really good armor on him. You make him -5, -6, -7 armor. He is going to be able to hold his own, right? And the best part is that his dexterity is not great, but he is the person who you use the gauntlets of dexterity on, right? You bop his dexterity up to 18. He is just phenomenal. So the other thing I like about him is I like the fact that, with his alignment, he's lawful evil. Of all of the evil characters in the game, he is the one who I can understand the most. His evil is just, he wants money, and he's greedy about it, right? Edwin is Red Wizard of Thay, who they just want to experiment and take over the world. Baeloth is a drow who wants to kind of manipulate things. Eldoth is a sleazebag, just a crappy character, crappy human being. Viconia is also a drow who is trying to understand. Xzar and Monteron are part of an evil psychotic institution. Tiax is a lunatic who is a follower of an evil god, right? They all have these kind of personality traits that drive them nuts. Whereas Kaigan is just like, look, I'm in it for the cash. I don't care what I need to do to get the cash as long as it doesn't break the law. I'm willing to do it. So I can respect that. I almost always bring him, even when I am a good aligned character. I made the mistake in my Basil video series and having my reputation go too high, and he straight up left. And it broke my heart, and it probably led to... No, it didn't really lead to me losing the run. But basically, like, he would have been great to have with me if my, reputation was just a little bit lower. So Kaigan is fantastic. I really, really, really like having him in the party. My gosh, excuse me. Coffee I had earlier today is not cooperating with my tummy. So next is Khalid. Khalid is a neutral good half-elf fighter. He links with Jaheira. You grab him at Chapter 1 in Friendly Armament. One thing about Khalid and Jaheira, obviously they're a married couple. If you go to Nashkel, and most loadouts of the game, if you go to Nashkel before you meet them in the Friendly Armament, they will disappear because they have other things that they need to take care of, and they already see that the Iron Crisis is being handled. The same thing will happen, by the way, with Xzar and Monteron. So, Khalid. I actually put him... I put him at A. I think he's a little bit better than Jaheira because of that versatility. You can use him for melee, you can use him for range. You can put points into whichever you need to because you usually get him at level 1. By the time you get Jaheira, Jaheira is already level 2 or 3, so she's already going to have certain points put into certain areas. Khalid is at level 1. He's a newbie fighter. He will break tons of long swords if you have him in combat, so give him a magic longsword as early as you can. You can obviously put a bow on him, make him good. I think he's a better archer than Dorn. He's just he's more versatile than Dorn is, but he's not quite as tanky as Kaigan is. And then with his low morale, the thing with low morale characters, and he's got low morale, Garrick has low morale. Usually by the time they have low morale and they freak out and they run away, that is a point when the character is already like about to die and you would need to move them out of combat. Yes, you lose access to the character. Yes, they kind of run around like a lunatic. That's not good. But there are far worse things than having your melee character who has 2 HP take the time to run out of combat while I have Kaigan or my character or Dorn or somebody else up at front who's, now the new target, right? So I don't think that his low morale is horrible. It's annoying, but it can be easily overcome. And something else too is it's like there's a lot of ways that you can get rid of that fear, freak out, right? You can cast remove fear. You can, if you're a bard, just turn on the bard song, right? There's a lot of ways you can overcome it. So some people will say that the low morale is a big issue for him. It's not. I don't think so. I think his stutter is funny. I think he's a very sweet character. He's kind of a sweet old uncle that is married to a hottie in Jaheira. But, alright, next let's talk about Kivan. Kivan is a chaotic good elf ranger. First and foremost, before I say anything, I think that his voice, I think his personality is actually pretty cool. I think he is I would say an edgelord done right in the fact that he is like angsty. He's gone through a rough point. Oh, excuse me. He I think he's okay. You grab him at high hedge. I think he's okay, but he's not great. I put him above Ajantis and above Dorn, about the same level as Brawen, right? Not great, but not terrible. The thing about him is that he's a ranger, and rangers by themselves aren't fantastic. I think he would have done much better as being an archer, but even if he was an archer, I still think Coran is a little more useful because he has the really nice thieving skills. I think Kivan's ability scores are kind of middle of the road. Again, characters in B, I really need to stress, they're not bad characters, and you'll probably have a good time if you take them with you. So don't think I'm like bashing Kivan and think that he's a terrible character. I really like his personality. I think that his weapon loadout maybe should have been a little better. I don't like using him with halberds and spears. I think the weapon, they're too slow. Him with longsword makes a lot more sense, especially with the fact that he's an elf. And the fact that he's a ranger, you put that last point into dual weapon fighting, give him long swords or even short swords, and I think he would be great. But in the range combat, I kind of wish he. I think you should primarily be using him as an archer. And in that case, I wish he was an actual archer, but he is not. So one other thing that really annoyed the hell out of me is in one of the mods I have. It's either one of the mods I have, or this is something from Beamdog. Let me know in the comments below, which, by the way, you should leave a comment below telling me how much of a moron I'm being, is that if you get to the bandit camp, and if he is in your party with you, and you go face-to-face with Tazok, he will blow your cover and basically be like, oh, I'm going to murder you, Tazok, because you murdered my love. And you start a whole fight there that you probably won't survive, because he will probably get your entire party killed. It was really annoying when it's happened to me, and it completely killed one of my runs, and I almost couldn't forgive him, but then I remembered that he's kind of a cool character that I don't mind taking with me. So, Kivan, not terrible. I think Coran is better. Next is Minsc. Minsc is a neutral good human ranger. He links with Dynaheir. He can be grabbed in Nashkel. His whole mission is to rescue Dynaheir, where Edwin's whole mission is to kill Dynaheir. I don't think it's super controversial, but I don't think he's that great. I think his stat spread is not fantastic. He is seen as a mascot of the game, because everybody's like, oh, he's he's got Boo, and Boo is a hamster. First off, hamsters can be mean. Hamsters can be smelly. I think there are many other cute little rodents that make a fantastic animal companion. I will say this much about him, though, is I like his rationale in having Boo, and the fact that other rangers have like tigers and hawks and wolves. That would have been nice for him to have. Unfortunately, he doesn't have that. He has Boo, and the problem with him is that he can't take a hit with the dam, right? His dexterity and his constitution are both 15 in the base game, and if I need a frontline fighter, I need it to be a little higher. He has the same problem with Dorn. The other thing, though, is that Dorn has a lot of other stats that actually make up for that, and he's got a lot of other clickable abilities that actually make him decent, right? What does Minsc have? Minsc has a berserk ability that will cause him to lose control, which, unlike the morale loss that Khalid and others might have, that get them out of danger, it makes him want to rush into danger and possibly start attacking everything around you, including you and including civilians. I have never seen him become a fallen ranger, but I wouldn't be surprised if some of you have, because he went and attacked some poor civilian and you lost a ton of reputation points, and suddenly he's not a good guy anymore. He can get druid spells, which makes it okay. I think if you were to put a few levels under his belt, right? If you picked him up, and if you picked him up with a little more HP, I think he could be easily maybe made an argument as being a B character. Maybe I'll put him as a top of C, but I feel like he should have been a barbarian. Like, if you made him a barbarian and beefed up his constitution even, like, keep his dexterity low, but beef up his constitution, just to have him charge in, I think that'd be great. I understand the logic of making him a ranger, because he does have quite a few kind of conversation pieces to have him be a ranger, but, I don't like taking him with me. Every time I do, I have to worry about him getting himself killed. You can, of course, load him out as an archer, and I think in Baldur's Gate 2, I think he can be a decent character to take with you. I just don't like him at low levels. I don't think he's great at low levels. So, I have him as a C. He's not terrible, but he's just not great. Not great. Next is Monteron. Monteron is a neutral evil halfling fighter thief. He links with Xzar. You can basically be grabbed in the first area of the game. I like him. I think he's good. I don't think he's as good of a thief as Alora and Imoen. I think he's low end of A tier. I think that he is... first off, he is... You can set him up to be primarily focused on stealth and backstabbing, which is great because it corresponds very nicely with him being a fighter, right? He's going to get those natural abilities to just hit like a truck. He does high damage, and lower HP means his purpose is not to be the tank of the party, right? Unlike the fighters, the true fighters, right? Kaigan, Khalid, Ajantis, Dorn, right? You have those guys at the front. That's their main purpose. His purpose is backstab, go consistently into stealth, then go around, backstab, get the heck out of there, and then start shooting from the back. The other thing that I like about him is he's got the same voice actor as the main villain from the Monkey Island series, and he kind of is a pirate. He kind of is a little halfling land pirate and a little sociopath. And I enjoy having him with me in the party. He's worth the ticket. I really, really like Monteron's character. And yeah, I enjoy him. I don't think he's a phenomenal character, which is why he's at the low end of A, but he's very good to have with you. He's not a B character. He is a character who is good. Right. Next is Neera. Neera is a chaotic good half-elf. Chaotic neutral. She's chaotic neutral. I wrote that wrong. Chaotic neutral half-elf wild mage. She's grabbed in Beargost. She has her kind of initial kind of fight with the Red Wizards of Thay who come in. We all know we hate Red Wizards of Thay. Here's the problem. Wild mages in Baldur's Gate 1 are very, very risky. I had, I think, the shortest run I've ever had playing as a wild mage in no reload situation where my wild mage cast armor and was petrified. End of the run. Same thing could happen to Neera. So I put her at C. I think she's better than Garrick, but not by much. She is a good spellcaster. But the thing is that if any spell has a 5% chance of being a wild surge and you don't know what that wild surge is going to do, it takes the planning and the fun out of the game. I don't like that. So I would much rather have her be, maybe have her as a Wanda junkie, but even in that case, why not take Edwin? Why not take Baeloth? Why not take Dynaheir? Right? Why not take Garrick at that point? Right? If you just need a wand junkie, just take one of them. And I think the other thing is, I don't like the voice acting. It's just dreadful. It's painful to listen to. I'm sure that the voice actress who did her role has a lot of other things that maybe she's done, and I don't want to bash her, but just this was not a good performance for her. And I feel bad saying it because, you know, this is an important job for a lot of folks who are doing this. So know that I don't hate. I don't think it's a good performance. It doesn't sound good. It's not fun to listen to her. It's not fun. Doing her quest actually is nice because she gets some nice items out of it, including a stone skin scroll. But I wouldn't want her to cast stone skin. She might actually turn herself to stone, and that would be silly. So I think, first off, she is going to go up in Baldur's Gate 2 because wild mages get a lot more powerful in Baldur's Gate 2, but I don't see her as super useful. Now, here's the caveat I will say. If you are playing with reloads and you are okay with save scumming with any kind of wild surge that happens, right, and you get to a fight, she wild surges, your gold is all gone, or your entire party gets killed by an errant fireball, right? I think she's fine. She's a B, but she's not a great B. For me, lately, I've been doing a lot of no reload runs, and even then, I typically don't want to save scum every single mage fight, every single fight where I have her casting spells. So, I might be overly harsh, but I don't think she's good. I don't think this was Beamdog's finest hour. Alright, next up is Quayle. Quayle is Chaotic Neutral Gnome Cleric Illusionist. He's grabbed Chapter 5 right outside of Baldur's Gate. He can be moved to Nashkel. I find him to be okay. He's very squishy. I think the thing with him, first off, I think of all of the companions you can pick up in the game, he has the lowest stat spread. He has the lowest score. I think his total score is 70. He is very squishy. He is min-maxed, but even if as he is min-maxed, his wisdom and his intelligence are not great. I think he lacks focus. I think you can use him for healing and some personal protection spells, but that's about it. So he's a C tier character. I think he's more useful than Faldorn. No, he's not more useful than Faldorn. Faldorn, at least, like, she can cast a lot of kind of control spells. He can cast control spells too, but he misses out on necromancy. He misses out on kind of high, survivability in combat. He actually can cast quite a few spells. The other thing is two other things that kind of make him kind of a little bit lower. First off, you can only grab him in Baldur's Gate, right outside of Baldur's Gate, which is Chapter 5. It can be moved to Nashkel, and if you get him earlier, I think you can make the argument that he could be a B, but I don't even think he's really worth grabbing. I can't tell you the number of times I've gone to that carnival, walked right past him, and kept going with no shame. He is... his personality is divisive. I think he's hilarious. Lots of people play with him and they're like, okay, we get it. You're a gnome. Ha ha. Gnomes are silly. Ha ha. Right? But I can understand why people aren't a big fan of him. So I'm going to put him at C. I think you can play with him and you can have a good time. But I think there's just better characters that do a combination of healing and personal protection better, right? Jaheira is a good example of that, where she is just tanky enough that if you give her a sling, hang out in the back and chuck things, and then cast control spells on the battlefield, you can pretty much do the same thing that Quayle does with a little bit more survivability and considerably earlier in the game. So I think that Quayle's a C, and yeah, that's that. Rasaad. Rasaad is a lawful good human monk. He's grabbed a Nashkel just outside of the inn there. Now, I figured out what's wrong with Rasaad. By the way, spoiler alert, he is an F. Unfortunately, he is the worst character in the game. But here's the thing with Rasaad, and I figured out the reason why it's so bad. If you look at his point spread has a 16 and two 14s, and then three 14s, and then a 10 and 11. Those would be really great stats for a Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition character. A 5th edition character, as a monk, he is not terrible, right? If you are playing that edition. We're not playing that edition. Baldur's Gate is 2.5, and you need to have 18s. You need to have stats that are 18s, and he has no stats that are 18s, and he has 14s for primary stats that he needs to have decent coverage in. The issue I have with that is that he's also a monk. Monks are pretty bad at low levels. They don't get a huge amount better at higher levels too. They miss out on quite a bit. Rasaad has one thing you can do with him is give him a sling and fire in the back, but you can do that with any other character. At that point, why not have any other character who can use a ranged weapon? He can't really go into melee because he will get himself killed because his AC is not great and he doesn't get helmets. He can use the sun scorch abilities, right? Like the sun soul ray and the flaming fists, but we have one scene where you fight trolls in this game that are his quest, and he's great at taking out those trolls, but that it would have been better if they made him a basic monk. If they made him a basic monk, he would at least be C tier, because you could use Stunning Fist, you could have him move up, stun an enemy, and then help everybody wail on them while the opponent is stunned. You can't do that with him, because he doesn't have that ability. So I don't find him super useful. He gets himself killed very easily. He's got a horrible point spread. I will say, a tiny point in his favor, he's not as annoying as Neera or Dorn. So of the Beamdog characters, and aside from Baeloth, who is hilarious, he is not that annoying as a personality, but I do think he is the worst character. If you need to have a lawful good character, take Ajantis with you. I'd rather take Ajantis than take Rasaad, and Ajantis is not even that phenomenal, right? I would take Coran as a frontline fighter and feel more confident with Coran as a frontline fighter than I would with Rasaad as a frontline fighter, and that tells you a lot. So Rasaad, unfortunately, you are the weakest link. Next is Safana. Safana is a chaotic neutral human thief. She's grabbed at the Sea Watcher Tower. She's okay. She's nothing amazing. She's not bad. She's not bad. I want to put it that way. She's not bad. There's very little difference between her, Imoen, and Skie. And she could be picked up fairly early on in the game. So I'll give her that. She has Chime Person ability that is a melee ability, which is really great at getting herself killed. So I would not use that ability. I think there are better thieves. I would rather take M1 than take Safana. In Siege of Dragonspear, she has a much bigger role, and she may even be good enough to be put at the high end of B tier. But I don't think that she's not. Again, I want to stress, she's not bad. But you're not taking her for being an amazing thief. You're taking her because she is a sexy young lady, and she will charm the heck out of everybody. You know what I will say, though? No, I think her placement here is fine, because Ajantis, if you need a high charisma face character, right? Your choices are between Ajantis and Safana, and I think Ajantis is just a little bit better because he has a couple different roles that he can play. So I'll give that to Ajantis. Okay, next is Safana. Safana is a chaotic evil human fighter. You can grab her at Mudaman's Garden from a duel. Normally, with her point spread, I would put her as a C. But I'm actually going to put her... I'm going to dare to put her right in the middle of B tier. Because you can dual class her to a thief. And if you dual class her to a thief, she's basically a thief with slightly higher hit points. And if you do it early on, then she can use all sorts of different, different weapons, right? Give her a composite longbow. I think she's got strength 18. She can hit like a Mack truck. And you can keep her as a fighter if you want to. Just keep her in the back. Don't charge her in the front. She doesn't have the constitution to do it because she will get splattered. But like if you make her a thief, and then even at level 2, and then have her thief up to level 4 or level 3, then she's a thief that gets to wear helmets, gets to wear whatever armor that she wants to wear, composite longbows, if she has the strength for it. I need to double check on that. No, I don't. I'm just going to assume so. If not, then normal longbows is fine. And longswords to do what she needs to do, right? She's not a tank. Don't have her as a tank, but have her in the back. So, not only that, but she can get you out of prison. In Chapter 7, spoiler alert, if you get arrested, she will get you out of prison. So I think that is an excellent counter to the fact that she will hate you for your genitalia. And knowing my audience, she will hate you at home, for your genitalia. All 99% of the viewers on this channel. Enough said. So, Shar-Teel is fine. Shar-Teel is great. You're going to have a good time in taking her with you. Next is Skie. Skie is a true neutral human thief. Links with Eldoth. Now, remember how I mentioned that she is a little different from Imoen or Safana? That is true. However, you get her so late in the game that she's just not useful, right? If you need to get a thief at chapter 5, you get Alora, or you go back and get Imoen, or you dual class Shar-Teel, or you get Safana. You don't get Eldoth to get her. Eldoth is the big reason, dragging her down. That means you have to take both of them, and no, don't do that. Don't be silly, right? The best choice she made was in Siege of Dragonspear when she dumped Eldoth. Good for her. You go, girl. Shame that you get killed in Siege of Dragonspear. Spoiler alert. But basically, she's a more obnoxious version, right? She's a valley girl. Belongs nowhere near actual adventures. Belongs only in the front, in at a buffet table or at a fashionista event. I can see her trying to sneak through an area with high heels, just clop, 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 clop everywhere she goes. No, Skie is just not worth taking. Not a terrible character either. Not a terrible thief herself. It's just why? Why grab her so late in the game? There's just not any good point to her. So. Alright, next is Tiax. Tiax is a chaotic evil gnome cleric thief. Grabbed in Baldur's Gate in chapter 5, he can be moved to Beregost. Now, can be moved to Beregost if you have the mods to do it. A lot of people will see him in comparison to Quayle. I think he is significantly better than Quayle. His class makes him much more of a utility character, right? His class makes him, he can cast healing spells, he can hide in shadows, he can basically be as good of a thief as a lot of the other thieves on this list. I would make him a better thief than Safana, right? Not nearly as good as Alora, but he can do a lot of the great things, and he can cast cleric spells, and he can summon a Ghast, which is a really nice kind of summon to have that can potentially stun enemies. That's really good. I think he is a better, more useful version than Brawen. He is more useful than Brawen. I do find his personality much more obnoxious than Quayle, but I love the fact that you can basically slap him down and say, shut up, stop it. Basically roll up a newspaper, swat him on the nose like a dog, and he will know his place. I think that his obsession with trying to become a god is adorable, considering how he turns out. But in character, in combat, he's fine. He just does everything you need him to do, right? They're better thieves, potentially. Yes, you have to split his whatever, but like, if you need a utility thief and Imoen's already dead, pick up Tiax. If you could get him earlier in the game, I'd put him in A tier. You get him so late in the game that he's not useful, not as useful, but he's still decent. Probably the best. Let me put it this way. Trying to find who else is a chapter 5 character. Alora is a chapter 5 character. Tiax is a chapter 5 character. Skie is chapter 5 character. I think he's placed very well for that kind of late in the game. Oh, and Quayle is chapter 5 character. I think he's placed exactly where he is. He's not the best chapter 5 character, but he is decent. So B is where I put him. Maybe he's a little too high here. Maybe I would put him there because you can get Brawen nice and early, and she's a better cleric than he is. but I find him useful. I find him useful. So, all right, next is Viconia. Viconia, she's grabbed east of the Friendly Arm Inn. You can move her to be south of Beregost. She's S tier. I think she's the low end of S tier. There's a lot of people that put her as like the greatest, phenomenal character, right? I think the low constitution. She has the second lowest constitution in the game. But with high dexterity and magic resistance, they kind of even out, but like a stray arrow could kill her. But with that said, she is the best cleric in the game. Not the best divine caster. Maybe she's the best divine caster. She gets more spells than any other divine caster, or more casting of spells. But yeah, the big thing is that you just need to protect Viconia from missile attacks. But she has good dexterity, so that already is going to help her ranged abilities and her ranged AC. And I think that there have been a number of times where spells were cast at her, and instead of saying nothing happens, and instead of saying it's saved, right, roll the save, it's just magic resistance. So Viconia is great. Beamdog, I think, nerfed her a little bit by reducing it down to 50% magic resistance rather than the 65, but she's still very, very good. Very good. I like her placement here. She has a specific role, and I think if you are playing a party that is an evil party, you take these four, and then you take Monteron, and we'll talk about Xzar in just a little bit, but that is probably the best evil party. Maybe you take Coran and just keep your reputation at 9, 8. Then you'll be a very, very happy camper with these four. Let's talk about Zan. Zan is a lawful neutral elf. He's an enchanter, which is a type of mage. There's two big issues I have with Zan. Oh, you grab him at the Nashkel Mines. I have two big issues with Zan. Zan is C tier. Two big issues. One, enchanters have the potential to be masters at controlling a battlefield, right? You could do sleep, charm, hold, fantastic. Don't use it for damage. You do not use him for damage, which leads me to the other thing, which is why would you give the character who has the lowest constitution score and give him a magic melee weapon, right? You give him a magic melee weapon because the principle is that he will freeze up an enemy with a hold spell or a sleep spell and basically lock them down so that he can go up into combat and wail down on them. Okay, that's cute, except for the fact that once that person wakes up, he's a dead man because he doesn't have the AC to actually defend himself. He doesn't have the hit points to make sure he can take a hit. I made fun of Viconia for letting a stray arrow would kill her. For Zan, a stiff breeze would kill him. He is not great. Not great. I think with kind of the principle of him being able to resist, being able to cast kind of controlling spells and then go in is fine. I think with the ability of casting those controlling spells and then letting your other characters go in, that's good too. Give him a sling or give him throwing daggers. That's probably the best. And I could see him as a good character, but there's other magic users I would put. I would definitely take Dynaheir over Zan, even though that sword is so freaking cool. It is what it is, though. All right, almost done. We got two more, and these other characters, they're all shenanigans. Xzar. Xzar is a chaotic evil human necromancer. He links with Monteron. He's not as good as Monteron. Somewhere in the B tier. I actually think that he is probably... You get him right at the beginning of the game. He's somewhere like in here. this is a whole mess. Like, all of these characters are basically like, you know, what role do you need filled, right? And who's going to fill that role? If you're talking about melee, you know, melee character build, Ajantis is going to be better than Dorn. If you're talking about a magic user that you want to do damage, Dynaheir is going to be better than Xzar. Alright? Xzar you get at the early beginning of the game. He's probably the first arcane caster that most players pick up. He is fine. He is good. You'll be happy if you take him. Okay? The thing is that when you grab him, right? First off, ditch the Chill Touch scroll. It's not a good scroll. It's not a good spell. Sell it. You'll get 50 gold out of it. Keep the Minor Drain scroll in case of emergencies. When he is out of spells, which by the way, you should don't even worry about other spells except for Minor Drain. Maybe a casting of armor to help save his behind, and then eventually move on to Magic Missile once you get a few levels under his belt. But Minor Drain is nice, kind of fits in with his gimmick of being a Necromancer, right? Necromancy is an okay spell school, but you are going to miss out on Mirror Image and Blur, so find other ways to protect him. I think, you know, he can eventually, if you get lucky enough, he can cast Stone Skin, which is okay, but like I think there are other ways you can protect him. I mean, heck, I've had times where it's early on in the game, and I cast 2 or 3 castings of Minor Drain, Linarch's Minor Drain, and he gets 12 HP. He can take a hit. He could take 1 hit. Usually, we're talking early on in the game, so like, you know, 6, 8, even 10 damage, and he'll be like, "Ah, my God, I'm gonna die!" And then he runs off, right? And that's fine. You know, you're able to take a hit, and my other characters are able to do what they need to do. So, I think Fred Welker is hilarious. I think that he does a great job in being Xzar. But I do have one bone to pick with Xzar, and I have a bone to pick with the writers of Xzar, right? His dialogue actually drove one of my very good friends, to stop playing Baldur's Gate 1. Because he refers to Oppenheimer, he refers to the I am death, destroyer of worlds, right? He makes that quote, and other real-world quotes. Now, I get the logic behind it. It's because he's crazy. He's a crazy person, and he is like, he's playing into that crazy motif, but he drove one of my friends to not play one of my favorite games of all time. So, I don't know. I'm kind of bummed at that, but Xzar is fine. Xzar is good. He does what you need him to do. And the last one is Yeslick. Yeslick is a lawful good dwarf. He's a fighter cleric. He's grabbed under the Cloakwood Mines. Now, I have 2 issues. I'm gonna put him above Bronwyn. I have 2 issues that I have with him. First and foremost is that, and by the way, the combination of being a dwarf fighter cleric is good. It's a good combo. If you need a lawful good character to be another kind of frontliner, right? He can do it. And he's good. He's nice to have in a party with like Coran and Khalid and Jaheira and Imoen, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, that's a pretty decent party. You got 2 thieves, also as distance fighters, and you have 3 melee fighters with a good divine abilities, and then maybe you make Imoen into a mage. You could do it that way. You can instead have Dynaheir. Maybe you throw Minsc into a building and then close the door and just take Dynaheir with you as your mage, or maybe your character's a mage, right? Anyway, Yeslick. The nice thing is that he is a decent fighter cleric, which is a good combination. He's got those shorty saves. However, he's got 2 issues that I don't like. One is that he has lower physical stats that make him a subpar fighter, right? He is about the same level of fighter as like Ajantis and Dorn. He's got that kind of low dexterity bit where you have to use gauntlets on him. If you have Yeslick in the Kaigan in the party. First off, Kaigan and Yeslick do not like each other. They will come to blows. But you're probably using the gauntlets of dexterity on other characters, right? you could use them on him, and he could be a decent fighter with high AC, but his constitution could be a little higher too, right? The other thing is he's got very low intelligence, which means he can't use wands, which means you can't use the Wand of Heavens. Now, if you have Jaheira in the party, just give her the Wand of Heavens. But if he is the only cleric you have, then you're out of luck of using one of the nicest kind of single hit scrolls in the wands in the game. So I don't think he is. I don't think he's not terrible. You'll have a good time in taking him with you, but there are better kind of fighter clerics out there. So, looking at these characters, I think I ranked Imoen a little too high. I think actually she is probably the low end of A tier, just because I mean, she's flexible, and you can kind of have her as to what you need her to be, but other than that, and she can dual class to be a mage, which is good. Rest of A tier is good. Really, for S tier, Coran and Kaigan are interchangeable. I think actually I'm going to put Kaigan a little higher than Coran because you get him earlier, and he will be your tank. He will not die. And even if he does die, you bet it'll be because everyone else is taken out, and you only have one or two more enemies that you need to handle, right? So S and A are good. B is a mess. Basically, it is just what do you need, and these characters will suffice, right? C is pretty much where I want it to be. Garrick is almost an F, but he is not quite there. And the rest of these are capable, but they're just not great. And then F is exactly what I want it to be. Skie is fine, but she comes in so late in the game that, and she's linked to Eldoth, who is worse than she is. And then Rasaad, you get him even early in the game. He's just not great. So yeah, I hope you like this. These are, by the way, these extra characters are the characters that you pick up in Candlekeep. I'm not going to bother doing them because they're literally with you for 2 or 3 minutes while you kind of learn how to play with groups. But that's it. And by the way, they have horrible stats. Right? Like Osprey has terrible stats. I think Ajantis has decent stats, but that's about it. So with that, again, I hope that you liked the video. Please give the video a like. Leave a comment below. Let me know who should have been, an A tier character versus a B tier character, right? Yada yada yada. Let me know how much of an idiot I am. I'm very good at handling this stuff. I probably will go to the shower and cry. Actually, no, I'm going to a holiday party, so that's why I look nice and dapper. So, with that, take care and good luck. We're all counting on you.